Before I begin, this thingy has spoilers for the Death Note anime. Yeah, the whole thing. Go watch it if you haven't. It's really good. So, I happened upon this one villainous scene thingy that looked really cool. So, why not? Here we go. So, Death Note is one of my favorite shows of all time, and it's also a show that's centered around the villain. So, of course, this show has a lot of great villainous moments for our protagonist, Light Yagami, to show off his villainous side. However, I'd argue that up until episode 25, Silence, Light Yagami is more morally ambiguous. Yes, he is a mass murderer, but he has morals. I don't support what Light Yagami was trying to do, in the same way I don't support what Thanos was trying to do. But, I can see where they are coming from. However, across the whole show, Light Yagami has proven that the only non-criminals he will kill are those who oppose him, and he does it without any remorse. But there's one person in the show that Light seems almost guilty about killing, and that person is L. L is the one person in the show Light Yagami sees as an equal to him. Notice when he talks to Nier later in the show, he keeps comparing him to L. The tennis game is all about their strange relationship, about thinking each other, and you can see Light is almost appreciative. Silence is an episode entirely dedicated to the relationship between Light and L. And the scene I'd like to focus on for the one villainous scene is specifically the scene where L dies. Because this is the turning point of the show. This is when Light becomes a true villain. But like the rest of the show, even true villainy has an element of ambiguity to it. For some background, at this point in the show, L knows for a fact that Light is Kira. But he knows nobody will believe him without proof. He keeps his mouth shut. He's beginning to accept the inevitability of his own death. So, in one last plea, he goes to Light. He asks Light if he will be lonely after they part ways, with part ways obviously being a euphemism for his own death. Light clearly is confused by this at first, but in a way, he might be taking what he says into heart. Earlier in the episode, we see that Light smiles deviously when thinking about the prospect of L's death, but here he looks repentant. It's not just confusion, like what he shows to L on the rooftop when he's talking about the bells. He almost looks genuinely sad here. If he was really trying to hide he was Kira here, he would probably try to hide everything. But he lets this emotion escape from him. Then L washes Light's feet, in reference to the Bible when Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, including Judas the traitor. Light is Judas, L is Jesus in this scenario. Light throughout the show has been correlated with both God and sin, with him referring to himself as God, but always holding an apple, the first sin.
Apple.
But that's all just background. Let's get to the villainous scene. During L's last scene, he knows that Light is Kira, but also knows nobody will believe him because of the fake 13-day rule. Desperate to prove the 13-day rule is fake, he tries to hand it over to a criminal. And that's when Rem strikes. Light set up an elaborate plan to ensure everything would work out for him. He played on Rem's love of Misa, and she writes Watari's name in her death note to save Misa. The screen glows red as all the data gets erased. Watari's clue something is wrong. Red is also Kira's color, so the blue-white L aesthetic is being replaced by Kira's. Then, L falls, and Light looks on. He falls to the ground, and Light picks him up, smiling. L doesn't say anything, and dies knowing he solved the case all along. Then Light freaks out. On the surface, it seems pretty one-dimensionally villainous. Light kills L, his main antagonist that he's been fighting mentally this whole time. He's won this game of chess they are both a part of. However, looking a bit closer, there are a lot of elements to Light's reaction to L's death. Light isn't actually the direct killer of L. Rem is. He set Rem in motion, But in the end, he had no control that Elle died. We don't know what would have actually happened if Elle was the one to die by Light's hand. Would there be remorse, sadness, happiness? It's kept ambiguous. We only get to see Light's second-hand reaction. Light's reaction can be interpreted in a multitude of different ways. While he does end up smiling at his foe's downfall and causing a fake freakout to turn suspicion away from himself, look at his initial reaction. It's almost repentant, shocked. Knowing what we know later, that Elle misses the competition that Elle provides, that's the whole point of the tennis scene, it's possible he might be feeling some genuine sadness here. But like a lot more of Light's reactions, it's kept ambiguous. He does start to villainously smile. I saw this one post that Light cared about Elle's death, but Kira didn't. I disagree. Light is Kira, that's the whole point. There isn't something where they're two separate people, they're the same. Kira keeps Light's personality traits, but more exaggerated. However, you can see Light being conflicted here. There is conflict between Light's and Kira's personalities, but they are the same person. And that's why I love this scene. It perfectly encapsulates Light's entire character. It shows his struggle to be Kira, fighting against his own feelings and desires to be a good person versus the Kira side of himself. It's not two different personalities because Light and Kira come together to make this person that we see corrupted throughout the show. I also want to briefly touch on Elle's side of the scene, because when I was watching the show for the first time, I was kind of confused. I thought Elle would have some dramatic final words to Light, or something. One last plan. No, he lost. Checkmate. He doesn't say anything. It's not dramatic, it's more melancholy. Which is exactly what that pinch of guilt we see in Light's initial reaction seems to be. It's exactly why Light thinks Nier is such a failure. He doesn't have Elle anymore to counter him. That makes being Kira almost less interesting. Both Light and Ryu get bored easily. And Light seems to be very extrinsically motivated when it comes to being Kira. He wants results. He doesn't kill for the sake of killing. To him, it was more satisfying being Kira when there was someone there who didn't agree with him. But in the end, he killed Elle anyway. He knew he had to, for the sake of making a new world.